Well, welcome everybody to Mazévo Connect. We do these every month, and I know several of you have been to Mazévo Connect webinars with us here before. So welcome back. And if you're new, thanks for joining us. We're super excited about this month's topic because this is one, it's a little bit different. It's where we really want to hear from you. The whole purpose of today's webinar is to help give us some guidance for the next year. We have some ideas in mind where we think we want to go, but it really is based on feedback from our customers and the Mazévo community that really drives the product direction. And that's really what today's webinar is all about. So before we jump into it, though, just a few announcements. I do want to welcome our newest Mazévo customer. I don't know if anybody's on the call here or not from Auburn University School of Education. They just joined on with Mazévo in the last couple of weeks. So I want to welcome them if they are here. And also want to announce too that we have an update going out tomorrow to Mazévo. So if you're a existing Mazévo customer, you go to log in tomorrow, you will automatically get the updates that we put out there. But the one thing I wanted to mention about this update is we've built in a year-end benchmark summary for you. We wanted to do something to kind of recognize all of your hard work over this last year because we know for a lot of you planning events and just being in the trenches day in, day out. I mean, I don't have to tell anybody here, that's a lot of effort and work goes into getting those events to go off and everything. So we wanted to put something together, kind of like just show you some stats. This is what you did over this last year. And so that will go live tomorrow. We're going to put a little notification in the app. It should just pop up and tell you, hey, go here and check this out. It's going to be available to all Mazévo global administrators. So if you're a global administrator, you'll be able to go there and pull it up. If you're not, just ask whoever's a global administrator in your organization to run that benchmark for you, and they can share it with you. There's a way to send it around by PDF and share it with your boss, with leadership there. But again, the intention is just to recognize how much hard work you all are doing. So yeah, let us know what you think of that. So wanted to point that out. Also today, I've got several of my Mazévo teammates here on this call. If you've been to previous webinars, you probably recognize their faces here, but I do want to call them out because we're all here listening. So I've got Joe Finley, who is on our implementation team. He helps get folks up and running with Mazévo. I've got Claire, who works with me on the sales side here as well. Angela Covington, who also is newer with us as well. She was most recently at Vanderbilt, has come over to work with us, and she does customer support with us. So she's on the call. And then Dean Evans, who's our CEO, and also manages our product team. So he kind of helps organize all the product enhancements and vets those and things like that. So that's who we have here on this call. And then myself, I'm the Vice President of Sales and Marketing. So
You you
um,
got you got Sean on there too, Beck,
And
Brian.
Chris and
oh,
Sean.
Chris and Sean
Great.
didn't even see you guys. Oh my gosh. So this is super special because our developers don't go out in the public eye all that much. So to have them here on the webinar is great. So Sean Nelson and Chris Myers, they are the ones that actually build Mazévo. They're the ones that are out there actually putting in the hours and getting things working and making it work right. So it's great to see them on the call as well. So yeah, and so just to set some expectations for today, again, this is a little bit different of a webinar. I'm going to be doing some of the talking here, but we want to really hear from you. So this is, we're going to do some things to try to encourage everybody to participate in whatever way you feel comfortable. So I've got some little short polls that I'll be putting up, and we'll be doing a little bit of open discussion, things like that. So we're not really going to be demoing anything on today's call. This is more to hear from you. So the first thing, before we get started with any of that, I just want to kind of set the stage with kind of the way we think about Mazévo, kind of our vision for the product and why Mazévo exists in the first place. So again, we've been doing this for a long, long time. Most of you know our background. We've been in this industry for a while, and so our whole mission is to help event professionals like you all spend less time actually managing systems and software and things like that, so that you have more time to create those great event experiences, provide great customer service, that kind of thing. So that's really our focus with Mazévo, and so how that kind of manifests itself is we want it to be a simple to use, streamlined tool that helps you with all those complex events that you're managing, right? So, and those processes, because there's a ton of process that goes into that, is often not recognized by folks, especially outside of the events industry or, outside of what you do in your organization. So it's like, we want to provide the tools to just make that stuff easier for you. So that's kind of our mission in what we're doing. And so the philosophy behind that and how we kind of bring that into being, I guess you could say, is we work in partnership with all of you. So we're always learning from you. We're listening. We're trying to understand, what you're dealing with, things like that. So it really is, we think of it as a partnership. Um, and the other thing that guides us is we believe that the product should be easy to roll out and easy to learn. Now, that can be challenging, especially if you're in a very large organization and this thing touches all kinds of people and departments and things like that. But again, it's like we still want it to be as easy as possible because you all have probably been through other implementations before and they can just turn into this long, drawn out process if you're not careful. So that's something we always keep in mind and just keep things simple, not overwhelm people with a lot of complexity and things like that. Um, the other thing that we are always grappling with on this end is that we know that we can't be everything to everyone. Which is hard sometimes because, sometimes it's like, oh, but it would be great if you did this or that. But it's like we know we're best when we kind of stay in our lane with the product and don't try to veer out too far from it. So, if somebody brings to us like ticketing is always the example I use. It's like, yeah, it would, be really great if Mazévo did ticketing in the software and things like that. And it's like, it probably would be great if it did ticketing in there, but that's a whole new world for us. And so we just, again, we try to stay with where we know, which is in events and logistics and scheduling and rooms and all of that. Um, so that's our focus there. The other thing too is that drives us is we just want you to get the most out of the product. We just, we know you make an investment with it. And so, but if have this great product sitting there and nobody knows how to use it, or it's too hard or difficult or whatever, it doesn't do anybody any good. And so the way we back that up is, if you're a Mazévo user administrator in the system, you don't have to pay for additional training when you have, maybe turnover in your department, or there's a new area of the software or feature that you want to use. We're not going to nickel and dime you for, oh, you need to sign up and pay us for a couple hours of training or whatever. Just let us know. We'll get some training scheduled with you. You can set up a call with Joe or Wendy, and they will help you out with the product. And it just goes back to our philosophy. Again, if you're getting the most out of the product, you're most likely going to be a happy customer, and we'll be able to work with you for a while. So, okay. There you go. So that's a little bit of our philosophy. Now, I'm going to kind of warm things up. I want to kind of understand a little bit who we have here on the call. So I've got a quick little poll just to kind of get things going here. So let me see if I can get this going. Launch this. Okay. So hopefully everybody's seeing a little poll up there. Okay, you are. I'm seeing results come in. I don't do these polls very much in Zoom, so I'm bear with me here as I kind of work through it. But Dean and I tested it out yesterday. It doesn't seem like it's too tough. So awesome. Give everybody a few more seconds to get their responses in. By the way, we've got a great turnout today. We've got about 50 folks on the call, it looks like. So again, really appreciate everybody showing up live for this one. I know a lot of you watch the recordings afterwards, but because this one is designed to be more interactive, I think it's great those of you that were able to be here today. Um, and so it looks like we've got kind of an even mix here of event schedulers and administrators or leadership, and then a mix of everybody else, which is great to see. So that just kind of helps give us some context when we, hear the discussion and things like that, to kind of know what your roles are and things. So thank you for doing that. If anybody else wants to see the results, here I'll share them with you so you can kind of see what the mix looks like here. Okay. All right. So that was first little poll. Looks like it worked well. So that's giving me confidence here. So let me see. All right. So let's go with our next one here. And so now we want to hear a little bit about some of the challenges that you're dealing with day to day. So I'm going to launch a little poll here. To kind of think about your current workflow and where are you experiencing the most friction or challenges with that workflow right now?
Noodles right out of the chute. Bam.
Yep, there we go. And also, too, if you're like, hey, none of these really match with what I'm thinking, please feel free to use the chat feature in Zoom. You can go ahead and type responses in there or questions or whatever. But we are looking at that as well. So if you're like, some of these don't really hit the mark, which is fine. So um, yeah, Leanne's saying work order issues. Okay, great. Um, yeah, multiple systems, multiple systems. I was going to guess that would be near the top, when I was putting this together. It's that one's kind of coming up there. Um, the other big one, communication with requesters and setups and services. Those are kind of the three that are leading the pack. Still got a few more seconds if you want to put in any responses there. We got some going in the chat as well, which is great. Thanks, Therese. She's saying Mazévo makes all these challenges easier to do. Derek saying scheduling access, building schedules, setting expectations. Oh, yeah, with users. Setting expectations, that's a big one for sure. Combination rooms. Oh, okay. Yeah, that would be one we probably want to dig into you a little bit and find out, where the challenge is coming up there. Um, Schedule events and classes. Oh, yeah, academic side and working with them, Claire. And then,
Sydney's got the invoicing from a user perspective. Yeah.
yeah, okay.
Thank you, Sydney.
Yes. So here, I'm going to go ahead and share these results with everybody just so you can kind of see how where we ended up with this. But using multiple systems, that ended up being our highest voted challenge up there. I would love to hear from somebody that put using multiple systems in there. Can you share a little bit why that's a challenge for you and what that looks like specifically where you're at? And feel free, just unmute yourself if you want to jump in with that.
Hi, Brian. This is Haley Herndon from University of Wisconsin La Crosse.
Okay, hi Haley.
It's funny, we actually just had an operations meeting and we're discussing this exact issue. We, as a campus, we're in charge of all reservations that are non-academic, and academic side uses Ad Astra. We obviously use Mazévo, and it's trying to figure out how to best for our users. We can't schedule those academic spaces until after the 10th day mark because classes can change. And so then it's trying to figure out, well, do we just limit them where they can't request until we can upload those 10-day marks? This last semester was our first semester with Mazévo, and we let people request, but we didn't approve until we added them in.
Mhm.
So neither option is great because from not from Mazévo side, but from the Ad Astra of like we kind of have to play that wait game, and our IT people couldn't figure out how to upload the final schedule. So then we had to make everything offline, and then people had to email us to get their room reservations for finals. So those are our kind of pain points right now.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks for sharing that, Haley. I don't know if anybody else on this call can resonate or resonates with that or not, but it's definitely something I've heard before because there is a lot of coordination when you're talking about scheduling classrooms, and you've got the registrar's office that does all of the classes, and then the events office needs to know when can we get in there and can people have these rooms or not. It's a coordination challenge for sure. Um, yeah, thank you for that. Anyone else that has something maybe similar or different than what Haley talked about with using multiple systems?
Hi, so Sarah Traxel. I'm with the UNT College of Music,
Mm,
and we actually have Mazévo across the campus for our event scheduling, but we also use Ad Astra in the registrar's office. And our previous College of Music solution had kind of the same issue where it was a completely different system. And what we actually do, and it's still a hassle, but we go ahead and import the course schedule about 3 weeks before the semester begins, because the number of changes that happen just within our college are more manageable to deal with the conflicts than like what Haley is doing, where you're letting people make requests, but then you're probably going to have to deny a bunch of those, or then you're slammed with a bunch of work right at the beginning of the semester when you don't need it. Like this kind of gives us the opportunity to say, hey, like we're going to go ahead and approve this, and we might have to cancel it because something changed.
yeah.
But most of the time, I can just move them to another space rather than canceling it completely and then just shoot them a quick email. It's still a hassle, it's still a lot of work, and it's still a lot of confusion, but it's the most manageable option we have found.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you for sharing that, Sarah. Yeah, it does come down a lot of times to like, what is your strategy? Do you have a strategy to handle, these kinds of things? And some of it is trial and error, like figuring it out over time and going, oh, that didn't work too well, and then coming back and trying something out. But yeah, so Sarah, thanks for sharing that because, in your case, you found something that works well for you all there. I also, too, I see some things coming in the chat. Obviously, we're not going to have time for everybody to go in and share things today. So if you do have something, though, that you want to bring in that's pertinent to any of these points, please do put it in the chat. I mean, we are going to be saving that and going through all of these later. So yeah, it's important to just share it if you're willing to. We really would appreciate it. So excellent.
Brian,
Yeah.
I have an end user issue that so I'm not the event manager, but
Okay.
I'm the end user that does the setups and arranges the setups within the team, all the way down to AVIT needs. One suggestion I think would make the system maybe even a little better for the end user,
Mhm.
because I don't need to actually log on and use the full scope of the system, is if when those work orders are pushed out, if those work orders can be pushed out in a PDF format when they're updated,
Mm.
that actually works really well. That would work really well for my use, because the downside is if you push out a work order, and the best way that I can put it into my own calendar for me and my guys is by the link that you provide. If that link dies, which I've had happen, then there's no way for me to be able to pull that work order. Also, if the system goes down for any reason, I can no longer pull that work order. If I have a PDF that is shot out on every instance that that event is either confirmed or changed, that makes it easier for me to use my own scheduling with my staff. That would make sure that we don't have the issues of missing a link or missing a work order based on either updates that you guys are doing or the link dying because it's no longer correct.
Okay. Yeah, and tell me your name too, because it's showing Leanne on my
Yes,
on my
Leanne's
screen.
sitting here. I messaged him separately and I said, hey, they're going to be talking about issues. Why don't you run by my office if you can? Because I know he's had this issue recently. So
Yeah.
not to throw everybody off.
Yeah, no worries. I was just like, you don't sound like Leanne, so I was curious. So awesome. Well, yeah, thank you for sharing that. And if anybody else, I mean, the PDF idea out there, because yeah, what you're alluding to there is we send out the link, right? Because the link is always up to date and it's clickable and you get the most recent information. But if anybody else kind of, that rings true for them as well. It's like, yeah, I'd really love to get a PDF or whatever. Put it in the chat. I mean, one of the things we look at is, how widespread is this? Is this something a lot of people, would like to see? That kind of stuff. That just helps us. But yeah, thank you for sharing that one there. So, all right. So I've got another poll. Thank you to those of you that just shared here, but I do have another question that I'm going to launch here for everybody. And this is, we want to try to understand when there are issues or problems that come up with your events, like where do they typically start? Where are these problems beginning? Where's the beginning of these problems? And I've given you some choices up here. So take a moment to read through those and let us know what you think here. Hey, got some answers coming in here. Yeah, yeah. Okay. I know this one takes a little bit longer to read through all the responses there. Okay. Okay, we've got a close to a tie race right now. Missing info on the request is kind of bubbling to the top, but right on its heels is last minute changes. Definitely two big challenges for sure. Give everybody a few more seconds to finish answering here. All right. I think we've got pretty much everybody. Thank you for answering those. So I'll share the results so you can kind of see them on your side. Yeah, so our big winner, I guess you could call it a winner in this case, I don't know, but missing info on the request. Would love to hear from somebody that wants to talk about how's that manifest for you? What are you typically missing on the request? And do you have an idea of why that is happening? Because we would love to understand a little bit more about when there's not info that you need, why isn't it there? So if anybody wants to share on that one.
Ashley Johnson from UGA.
Hey, Ashley.
Hey, how are you all?
Good.
I actually just had a meeting with my director as well as some of our university lawyers regarding that information specifically, simply from the standpoint that missing information means that we sometimes get surprised with events. Maybe someone's bringing a politician like the governor to their event and they didn't tell us. What we're trying to do is balance how many questions we ask the requester with the information that we're actually seeking. So for us, we are going to do a review internally and then pass it off to the university lawyers to review the questions that we're answering and hopefully what response we're looking to get from the customer. For what it's worth, we actually have a question that we ask on every single request. Will a special guest, like a politician or upper administrator, be present at your event? And we do have customers that don't answer it.
Mm, hmm hmm
Well, they have to answer it. They're just not giving you a good answer, is what.
Correct answer. Yes, absolutely. Yes.
Yeah.
That's correct. They're not giving us a good answer. And so I don't know that it's necessary. It's definitely not something Mazévo can fix, but it's certainly something that we're having to look at. Is there a different way to ask this question? Or for one of the things that we're doing, also looking at, maybe we also need to leverage we send an email to the customer so many days prior to the event. Is there anything else we can ask in that email saying, hey, you have an upcoming event? Have there been any details that have changed for your event versus just saying, here's your upcoming event and how do you want to handle that or manage it? Is everything correct here?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that is great. Thanks, Ashley. Because yes, I can imagine you are not alone in that challenge. I mean, I have heard a lot of permutations of what you brought up there. It's like, how do we get good information from our requesters? And I mean, at best, it's a moving target, right? Because a lot of times when folks are requesting their space, they don't have all the information yet about their event. They're just trying to know, can I get the space? Because if I can't get the space, I can't do the rest of it, right? So there's this delicate dance that goes on between like how much information can you get from them? How much do they have? How do you go back to them and get the information? How do you ask in the right way so they understand what you're trying to get from them? I mean, there are so many things there that come up, but yeah, that's definitely something. And I'll just kind of sprinkle this out there for those of you on the call that I know Dean's got his team right now working on some enhancements to event questions. And you're going to see the first little changes of that tomorrow when you log into Mazévo. There's going to be some changes out there around event questions because we're putting a little more emphasis on that here at the beginning or the end of this year, beginning of next year on the questions to try to give you some more tools to get some good information out of folks because we know that's a big issue for sure. So yeah. So yeah, thank you for that. So
Yeah, I'll tease you with one of the things that's coming is optional questions. Now that should set fear in some of you because you'll have control over, is the question required, which everything is required today. Is it optional? So is it really truly optional? They can bypass it. And there's going to be something in between. It's required, but we're going to let you bypass it. And then we're going to nag you, Mr. Requester, for the answer. And then we're going to give you some kind of time frame that says, well, if you haven't answered it, by a certain time frame, we might go ahead and cancel your event because you haven't supplied us that information. So instead of this hard, everything's required, you'll have some granularity on how you get that. And that it might give your users a better experience if they can, well, I'll come back to that and get the information. And the students are going to forget that. And that's why we've got that nag option that we want to turn on so that you can, hey, you need to supply this or your event will be canceled. Hopefully that'll help with somebody. So
yeah. Yeah, thanks, Dean. I saw some reactions floating up here from folks. So we're excited about that. I think that is definitely going to help some of you anyways with those issues. So all right. Well, again, if you have something that, this is jogging some thoughts or some ideas for this, please do put those in the chat for us or send us an email afterwards. Because again, this feedback already it's been great. Thanks for sharing this. So another thing that's kind of related to what we've been talking about is also workarounds, right? So when Mazévo doesn't do exactly what you're looking for it to do, or something you need in your process, it's just not there in Mazévo, you're going to do a workaround, right? And that might mean, who knows what it could mean? It could mean like, using a paper process, using another system, sending an email to somebody. I mean, it can look a lot of different ways. But I want to ask specifically a little bit about workarounds and where that is happening, or how much that is happening, I should say, um, for you with Mazévo. Because we know these things are happening, but we don't really have a good idea of like, well, how much is that happening? Is this something that's happening all the time, or not so much? So just kind of curious on getting your thoughts. So think of workarounds. Okay. Okay. Let a few more answers come in here. Thank you for filling those in. Okay. Well, I'm encouraged that daily isn't at the top of the list, but it is close. So that's probably not where we want to see it. Weekly is definitely leading the pack, and everything else is basically a four-way tie um, up here. So, okay, that's interesting to see. Because this was one, when I was putting it together, I really had no clue. I was like, I hope they're not all saying this is a daily thing that they're, dealing with workarounds. Um, but yeah, so I would love to hear from a few of you when you're thinking, what came to mind for you when you're like, okay, yeah, I'm doing workarounds daily or monthly or whatever it is. What is that workaround that you're having to deal with? Can anybody share on that?
Yeah, I'm willing to share.
Okay.
Um, so we use the operations functions to delegate tasks to our student workers.
Hmm.
But some of our service providers provide a very large amount of resources that the student workers need to make sure is checked off and done. I'm looking at an order right now that has 40 different resources from one service provider.
Okay.
And I would really love the ability to be able to mark each item as completed rather than everything from the service provider total.
Ah, gotcha. Yeah, because you have so many to deal with, right? Yeah.
Exactly. So often we end up printing it out or creating a different form. Like we've been trying a few different things, but it's hard to make sure that those other things are a most up-to-date version of the event.
Yeah. And is that
Okay,
something
so
you're dealing? Oh, sorry, Tony. Is that something you're dealing with kind of pretty much daily, or is that just come up every now and then, or?
4 or 5 times a week.
Okay. Okay.
Tony, if you had 40 items and your student workers out there setting these up, you would expect them to hit a button or check a box
Denis
for
Rose.
all 40 items individually rather than overall.
I would hope
Let's-
so, yeah. Because
Okay.
they're getting like 6 hours to complete this. It's not something I'm expecting them to complete quickly.
Okay.
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 All right.
But
Great.
I need to make sure that they're accounting for each individual item as is the most up-to-date version.
Sure.
Yeah, I guess my concern there is if you give anybody on this call a list of 40 check boxes, chances are you might mischeck one of those as you're going through. And certainly if you're doing it on your phone. So how we design that would be important. Let me put it that way. So,
Yep.
okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I totally hear what you're saying.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Tony. Yeah, that's great feedback. Anybody else have something that they want to share there, a workaround that you deal with regularly?
Ashley from UGA again.
Yeah.
A workaround that I deploy, and maybe there's some other thing that I can use. Currently, there are a few departments on campus that advise a group of student orgs, and I set up a a report for them to get detailed information about the events that the advised groups are doing. 2 weeks out, they receive it each week. I use Find Events to do that, but I have to give those people enhanced access to the system that I don't necessarily want them to have, so that I can send them that report, because I can't just type in an email on Find Events.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we've heard that before. Not to bore you with the details, but we'll take a look at it. Right now, Find Events is interactive, whereas a
Yes.
report is not. It's kind of a here's a link, go run your report. Find Events is an interactive grid where you can sort and filter and making that for an anonymous user, it makes us nervous that they would get too much information,
Understood. Yep.
so that's the fear that we have there. So
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
But we'll see what we can do. Maybe there's
Okay.
something in between. So,
All right. Thank you.
yeah.
Yeah. Awesome.
I have actually something that we have to do
Yeah.
every single day. And it seems like it would be an easy fix, and probably some other event coordinators are dealing with as well. But so we have a naming convention for performances, particularly for student recitals, where they need to take the same format every time. And we've tried to put in an event question that says, hey, did you follow the naming convention? And a lot of them say yes, even though they 100% did not. And we've become kind of aggressive about just denying straight out, well, you didn't follow the rules, and so we're just going to deny. And we're denying over and over and over again with the same people. Sometimes it's a language barrier, so that doesn't really seem fair. And so we're faced with, okay, we can either take the time to change it in all of these different places where it needs to be changed so that it goes into my calendar system correctly, or I'm making students angry and confused. It would be really helpful if we could put instructions on the page where they're putting in the event title, or take the information from the questions and auto-generate an event title.
Yeah. Oh, those are great. Those are great suggestions there, because this goes back to that question somebody brought up earlier. It's like, how do we get the information in correctly from our requesters, right? And yeah, and there's definitely I think opportunities there to continue to really look at that stuff. So yeah, thank you. I'm also seeing too, a lot of you are putting some things into the chat. It's looks like it's active there. So thank you for doing that as well. I wish, we had time to kind of get with everybody, but I'm already hearing a lot of great ideas coming out of this. So I think this is probably a good time too to share with you a little bit. I wanted to share a little bit today, just so everybody on this call understands kind of a little bit about how we make decisions on what goes into the product, specific features or what direction we're going with the product, things like that. The first thing I just want to stress with everybody is that when you make a suggestion to us, whether you send us an email or in a conversation or a webinar like this or whatever, your suggestions don't just go into a black hole. We're not just going, oh, okay, yeah, that's nice. We'll see if we can do that. We record all of them. We actually have a system on the back end that we use where all of these go into, and we log what the suggestion was and also who made the suggestion. And we use that as kind of a rough tally of how often we've heard things, because we have several criteria that we use when a suggestion comes into us, one of the first ones is how often have we heard this before? So it is kind of the squeaky wheel gets the grease in a lot of cases, where if we just keep hearing this again and again and again from different people and everything like that, we're going to try our best to address it in some way. So the frequency's a big one too. The other thing too, just to keep in mind, we've been doing this for a long time now. So if we hear something that seems to us totally out of left field, we're like, whoa, that we've never heard that one before. It's not that, it might not be a good idea or anything, but we are going to vet those a little bit closer when it's something that's just, it seems out of left field for us, because it's just like, whoa, why haven't we heard that before? And sometimes the reason we haven't heard it before is it's because this feature request is for a business process that, maybe it's only found in this one organization, right? So we kind of have to look at when we do anything with the product, it's like, is this something that could potentially benefit all of our customers, or at least a good chunk of them, right? It doesn't have to benefit everybody, obviously, because you all do things a little bit different. But we do look at, is this going to be applicable to a wide or wider audience, right? So that's important to us. We also look at the impact the change would make. I mean, if it's going to, double your efficiency and how you process requests or something like that, that's a huge impact, right? And it's just like, oh, okay, that would really move the needle. Or maybe it just reduces your risk of mistakes by quite a bit. I mean, those are a couple of the easy ones we look at, and it's like, yeah, those things would bubble to the top of the list. We also look at the sustainability of maintaining that change, because we go into it, when we do anything in the product, we automatically assume we're going to have to support that feature forever, until the end of time and the internet shuts off or whatever it is. We got to support that forever. And so if it's this big, complex, kind of crazy thing, we got to weigh that, right, with the benefit that goes out of putting that big complex thing in there. So we just look at that. We look at the complexity. Is this going to make the product more complex? We do everything we can to try to keep things, like we said before, simple, streamlined, efficient, easy to onboard people, things like that. So we definitely weigh in trying to keep the product as simple as possible while giving you all the tools you need in there. And then the final thing we look at is, do we understand why you want this feature in there? Because we need to justify it to ourselves. And if we don't fully understand it, there's a good chance we could go down the wrong path with it. And it's just like, could make things worse, or, it just doesn't really move the needle for anybody. So we really have to understand the context. So I'm sharing this because, again, we would encourage all of you to, if you do want to take the time, share your ideas with us. We love it. But if you give us some context behind why this feature will help you, or how you came up with it or whatever, that just helps. So just wanted to put that out there for everybody. So okay. So we're doing pretty good on time. I've got a couple of other little poll questions I do want to ask. Um, One of the things, so we've kind of been talking about challenges and some, issues that you're facing up till now. One of the other things I wanted to make sure to ask about today was just where Mazévo has helped you the most. And the reason that's important is because those are the things we don't want to take our eye off of. It's great to fix these other problems, but we also have to focus on the other things where Mazévo is really delivering the value for you today. So I want to put a quick poll up about that. So here's the question. So what's the biggest challenge Mazévo's helped you overcome? Okay, we we've got an early leader here coming out. I'm not going to spoil it yet, tell you what that is, but it's we've got one that's a significant leader here. A lot of these other polls have been kind of close, but this one that's kind of jumped out there. I'll give you another few moments to get your answers in. Nice, Teresa. See, you'd say all of them. Okay, thank you. All right. I think we've got most of your answers in here. Looking like. Okay, I'll go ahead and share. The top winner by a pretty big margin on this question was replacing an older system or fragmented tools. So the message I'm hearing from that, and please feel free if you want to jump in and, add more or correct me, but I'm really zooming in on, if you switch from an older system, there was a reason you did that, but the fragmented tools, being able to kind of have everything in one place that you need to do your job and, have effective events and everything like that. I think that's a big one. I mean, I hear that one quite a bit myself up there. I don't know, would you agree with that? Or did somebody take that a different direction? Anybody want to comment on replacing an older system or fragmented tools as being the biggest challenge that Mazévo helps you with? All right. Well, we are getting close on our time, so I'm keeping an eye on our time here. And so that is very helpful. Thank you for sharing that with us. Last question I have, and then I am going to open this up at the end here for just some open comments and things. But I wanted to ask about integrations. Integrations is another thing that is top of mind for a lot of folks. And it goes to kind of a lot of things we've talked about today, right? The workarounds, the more integrations that work well for you, typically the less workarounds you have with things. But it's also just, fragmented systems, different information in different places. So for this question, I'm going to put up, tell us where Mazévo, if it was integrated with another system, where that would help you the most. Now, I know a lot of you on this call already have Mazévo hooked up to various other systems and are integrating. I want to hear about the things you're not integrating with today. So if you already have Mazévo integrated with something that's working fine, great. But where else could it help you? So there's the context. I'll launch the poll here. So we just want to know where you'd get the biggest impact with an integration. Okay, they're starting to come in. I'm seeing a few leaders. I will share this poll results with you, by the way, when we're done here. Okay.
Don, don't hold your breath, but on Monday I talked to the folks at CourseLeaf about an integration.
There you go. That's been a recent topic there, especially for those of you on the dealing with the academic stuff. So, okay. Awesome. This is already some great information to see as these results are coming in. I'll give everybody another moment to cast your vote up here, but it's looking like our winner, at least right now, is the academic and student information systems. Now, I know that also reflects a lot of you are with universities on this call today. We don't just deal with universities, although it is the biggest chunk of our customers out there. So, in some ways, that's not super surprising that that one has jumped out. Um, and Anybody wants to get their vote in, I'm going to shut it off here in just a second, and then I'll share the results with everybody. Um, but it looks like number 2 is going to be personal calendar systems, Google and Outlook. Now, we hear that one a lot, but I was going to guess something else for number 2. I wouldn't have guessed that one to be quite so high. So that is interesting. So here, I'm going to go ahead and share the results with you all so you can kind of see where everything came in. But this is super valuable for us when we're just talking about, where do we put our emphasis when it comes to integrations and things like that. If you've been on previous webinars with us before, you know that Google and Outlook Calendar integration has come up in the past, and we've looked at it a little bit. I would love to hear from anybody on this call that put Google or Outlook integration down, why that kind of bubbled to the top for you, and how that would be more valuable if you were able to integrate more tightly with those systems. Does anybody want to share? Don't be shy. Anybody? Anybody?
There was a few people in the chat that mentioned about the credit card processing.
I can
Okay.
answer about the integrating for the calendar.
Yes,
Our
Stephanie.
university police uses an Outlook calendar for their on-duty police officers, different tasks that they need to do when they're on shift. And we have quite a few rooms on campus and buildings on campus that are manual key unlock. And so if we have an after hours reservation happening, we have to make a special reservation. We've created a secondary approval process, and we can create notes and inform people that need to know. But the police office has asked, like, oh, it'd be so great if we could get those reservations that are just after hours to be integrated into their Outlook calendar. But they also don't want it to be like taking up every single hour of a certain day because it's, multiple buildings or things like that, but that it could just be like, oh, Saturday we need 16 buildings open, and you can click on the link and get the buildings that you need opened.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. So in your case, you're thinking of it, or they're thinking of it as a way to share information. And for them, Outlook, the Outlook calendar is like, it's just simple. It's easy. They're used to using it.
Right,
And it's
right.
like, if you could just have a subset of your events show up on that calendar for them,
Yep.
rather than giving them a report or a link or,
Yeah, yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
I
They're
heard that.
they're getting better about being willing to use reports and things like that. But it's been
Uh-huh.
we're at 3.5 years of Mazévo, and we just finally made an
Uh-huh.
inch of progress. So
Yeah, yeah. No, that's great. Thanks for sharing that. And if anybody
yeah,
else would agree with that, put that in the chat because yeah, it is I understand how it's an issue at the large university or organization. It's like getting people to use the tools, click the link, read the report. You're always looking for ways to have less friction, with that. So I could see that for sure. So awesome. Well, I know we're getting close on our time, and I know some of you are probably going to have to drop off here at the top of the hour. And you're welcome to stay on a little bit longer if we keep going here. But I do want to just mention though, just I want to thank everybody again for just sharing today and just sharing your thoughts and all of this. I mean, this is it's super valuable to hear everything. So thank you again for that. The last thing I wanted to just do is kind of just open up if you came to this call and you're like, man, I have this burning desire to see X, Y, or Z get put into the product. I would love it to do this or that, whatever it is. This is the opportunity. I would just kind of like to open it up. If you want to unmute yourself and ask for it or put it in the chat, but what's, one idea or challenge or opportunity you really want us to consider for next year that you think would have the most impact for you? So, does anybody have anything they want to share there?
I think they've been sharing in the chat.
Okay, good. I haven't
Yeah,
been watching the chat too close, so
yeah, no,
yeah,
it's full.
yeah, awesome. I love it. Yes.
Brian,
Elise?
just because I figured it would be quicker for me to probably say this than type it. But I reached out to different people that fall under our office, and we have transportation services that falls under events management. So people can request vehicles through Mazévo. And one of the things that they are consistently getting questions about and confusion is when they go in to pick a room, that's where the vehicles are. So it's really confusing. And I don't know if there's maybe something that's already in place that we could, like vehicles could have its own kind of title. But that's something they deal with almost daily because people are like, where do we find the vehicles? Because they're not thinking that they should look under the building vehicles, if that makes
Yeah,
sense.
totally, totally. Thank you for sharing that, Elise. And that reminds me, your your point, because what you're sharing there is some feedback you're getting from your requesters, right? And one of the things I've noticed is we're kind of insulated from that in a way because you all that are on this call, you're the ones, doing everything, but you're hearing things from the requesters. And sometimes we don't hear that quite as often. So in this case, that's great to hear that it's like, yeah, for reserving vehicles, you're not alone in that. We have other customers that use it the same way. It's like, could that be more clear some way for them to do that? That's great. I do want to give a shout out to Hollins University. They may still be on this call. I saw them on here earlier. They actually emailed me some things yesterday that were like, hey, these are some things we were thinking about for this call. Uh, and I mentioned them because it was kind of along the same lines. It's like, here's some feedback from our requesters where they get hung up or where they can't figure things out or whatever. So that information is also super valuable because that whole requesting piece of our software, we know that is a major piece that you rely on every day to, do your job and collect the information. So we're always looking at that to try to, how can we make that smoother and a better experience and everything. So yeah, that's great. Thank you for that. Yeah, Fred, I see you've got your hand up there.
Yeah, I've actually I think I started wanting this feature way back in EMS days.
Okay.
Um, I have a relatively small operation within the larger university, and I use Mazévo and I use personnel in Mazévo as resources. And it would be a huge help to me if I could schedule uh, personnel, actual people, put names in my resources under personnel and be able to schedule them and assign them to events within Mazévo.
Mm-hmm.
Currently, I pull a report that gets put into an Excel spreadsheet and I schedule from that. And I have scheduling meetings where I have folks who come and say, oh yeah, I can work that event. And I'm very event based. It's not like I have shifts during the day and whatever events are happening, people just work them. I have people work specific events.
Gotcha.
And in my meeting right now, I bring up the Excel spreadsheet, say who can work it, and I type their name in. It would be great if I could pull up something similar, some sort of table within Mazévo that shows all the events that need those slots filled, and I can just do a drop down for each one of those and say, Mark's going to work this one, Tammy's going to work this one, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And then of course the things that go along with that, have it like in a true resource format where I can't double book somebody.
Yeah.
If they're already in one event, they're not available for another.
Sure.
It would, right now, the biggest issue I have is if I've got, as we all do, you get new events. We have things that come in, and I've already scheduled out 2 or 3 weeks worth of events, but I have new events that come in. Pulling the new report and comparing it to my Excel spreadsheet and finding which one's new. Oh, that one got canceled. It's amazing how difficult it is. And I actually tried using AI to compare those files.
Yeah.
I was not very successful with that. So
Okay. Well, Fred, thank you for sharing that. I know from hearing from other folks, you're not alone there in doing that. I'm curious if anybody on this call is also scheduling staff in a similar way that Fred explained there. But yeah, so I mean, what you're asking for there is really it's just an easier way to manage individual staff assignments for your events at the end of the day.
in a way, a little bit like lighting instruments or sound equipment too.
Yeah.
Because we do that, we can do that pretty easily in Mazévo, and that works great. But people is a little different.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Laura's saying they experienced something similar with that. So yeah. Well, again, thanks for reminding us about that, Fred. So that's a good one. Yeah. Anyone else? Again, we're fine staying on a little bit longer here. I want to make sure to give everybody a voice if you have anything you really want to share here. Yeah, you're right, Dean. The chat is definitely active. I love it.
Very active.
Great.
Yeah, there's a limit, Sarah. You can't ask for more than 100 things. Okay, so you're almost there. Just kidding.
No limits. It's all right.
That's good. I'm just getting started.
Yeah. That's where
150 options. That's a lot.
We do a secondary approval process for our student recitals where they have to have a committee of 3 professors. So I have to have every professor in the college listed alphabetically so you can actually find them. And then so they have committee member 1, which triggers an automatic secondary approval. Committee member 2, same list of people for a trigger, and then committee member 3.
Yeah.
So when I add a faculty member in the middle of the alphabet, I have to delete half the list and put them in and then redo, which is a lot of work, but also it's way less work than triggering all of those approval emails. So
yeah.
So let me decode that really quick. Sean's looking in the air over there. Sean, we need to be able to sort the specific answers in an order. So she could add one and then resort the answers to select.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Thanks, Sarah. I see RB115. You've got your hand up.
Hi, Robin. Thank you.
Hey, Robin.
I have a similar problem with Sarah as far as I have a lot of secondary approvals and I don't know how to use them. So maybe it's a training issue on my side, and I'd like to know how those are utilized much better. So
send an email to support@GoMazévo and we will help you out.
Yeah.
So
definitely.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, all right. Well, I think we're wrapping up, winding down here. So again, we are going to be, parsing this chat in here afterwards and kind of talking about it. But already I can just tell the quality of the conversation was exactly what I was hoping we would get out of this. And I want to thank you all for participating. This has been so valuable. We definitely are going to do this again, probably a similar format at some point next year. Can't tell you when yet, But this is great. Please, though, do never hesitate to send us, if you have a burning idea or just something that occurs to you, send us an email. You can always send it to support. You can send it to me, anybody on the team. And again, we look at all of those. But this is great. This is going to give us some good direction, I think, as we go into next year, as we kind of sit down with this. And I hope that everyone has a successful ending of 2025 and has a good holiday break. And we look forward to seeing you all again next year. And I will be sending out the recording for this, and I will also send out, once we know what we're doing in January, stay tuned for our next webinar in January. So thank you all so much.
Thanks,
Thank
everybody.
you.